Good morning, members. Good morning, members of the public. You're all very welcome this morning to Babergh District Council's Planning Committee meeting of the 16th of December. First of all, may I remind you of some of the domestic arrangements. Please ensure that the cameras and microphones are turned off when not in use, that you do not interrupt other speakers, that if you wish to speak, a point of order, declare or interest or request an adjournment, please use the hands up function on the taskbar. Members are reminded that they should not have alternative communication lines open, such as other Teams chats, and that if you are contacted by a third party during the application, you should bring this to the legal advisor's attention. If you are attending the meeting to speak and persistently interrupt the meeting, you may be asked to leave. If members do lose connection to the meeting, that they must contact the member support officer, Mandy Smith, as soon as possible. We'll be using Modern Gov to conduct all electronic votes during this meeting. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. The whole of the meeting will be recorded, except where there are confidential or exempt items. If you make a representation to the meeting, you will be deemed by the council to have consented to being recorded. By entering this meeting as a speaker, you are also consenting to being recorded by the council and to the possible use of those sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. The council, members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and press are not lawfully excluded. I'd now like to introduce the officers. We've got Mark Russell, the acting area planning manager, Rose Walton, who's the case officer, Ian DePraise, the planning lawyer, and Robert Carmichael, the governance officer. I will now move to the agenda. And item number 1 is apologies for absence and substitutions. Robert?
Thank you, Chair. So this morning we have apologies from Councillor Plum, and Councillor Alistair McCraw is substituting for him, and I can confirm through the modern.gov app that everyone is here.
Right, thank you. So we've all signed in. Well done. And right, item number 2, declarations of interests. Are there any to declare?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Hinton.
Councillor Hinton. Yep.
I declare personal interest in that my son's property backs onto the site. It's one of the properties on Lady Lane that, Lady Lane that back onto the site.
Thank you. I'll just get the lawyer
take
to
part
comment.
in part in the debate. I will take part in the debate, but not vote.
Right. Over to you, the lawyer.
Okay. Well, Councillor Hinton has declared it as a personal interest. Obviously, it's not his pecuniary interest, so he's expressed an intention of not voting, which I understand. I'll just make sure Mr. Carmichael and I have one mind of that, if I may. I think.
Yeah. You better check that out.
Are you there, Robert?
Yes, sorry, and I was just thinking. Yeah, I can't see a reason.
Can't see a reason not to do that. No, it's not a pecuniary interest because it's not Councillor Hinton or his. The rule is it's yourself or your wife or partner, isn't it? Not family. It doesn't extend to family members. And if Councillor Hinton's explained the nature of the personal interest and says he intends to deal with it by not voting, which I think is fair enough.
Yes, I would just add only that as it's not a pecuniary interest, that as Councillor Hinton has made it clear that he will not be voting, that wouldn't be any different from any other time that a councillor would choose not to vote on an application. So I don't see any issue with that part.
Indeed.
No, and he's made it very clear right at the start, so I think it's all quite acceptable. Okay, then Councillor Hinton, we've noted that, and you've got the all clear to speak, and you've decided not to vote, so thank you very much. So no other declarations of interest from anybody? No. Thank you very much. Right, item 3, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of November. Now, I don't believe we can do that. Robert?
Thank you, Chair. So there was a request from Mr. Russell, our area planning manager, to withdraw the minutes for a further review of them. I don't know if Mr. Russell wants to comment more, but they won't be heard today. So apologies for that, Chair, that they were put forward that they couldn't, but I'll let Mark explain further.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes. Sorry, Chair, that was an oversight on our part. I just needed to check one of the references to a policy, and rather than rushing it and getting it wrong, I decided it was better to postpone it until the next meeting. So my apologies to that to members for the delay on that.
Okay, so it will come to us in January then. Thank you very much. Then we'll move on to item number 4, which is I think there's. Wait a minute, just bear with me.
Sorry, Chair, I've just noticed that as well.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Never mind, I'll go to my paper.
Apologies.
That's better. It's notifications of petitions.
None received, Chair.
Thank you very much. And then item 5, which is members' site inspections or officers. Are there any site inspection requests? I have to ask you that.
There have been none, Chair, but you'll be aware of the ongoing rules on that.
Yep. Thank you very much. And there's none from members because no hands have gone up. No, thank you very much. So we'll move on. There's no site inspection requests. So we're now on to item 6, which is the plan and application for determination by the committee. Right, and that is on page 11. And I'll ask Rose Walton, the case officer, to take us through it. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just loading the presentation up now. If somebody would be able to confirm when they're able to see that.
It's actually page 17, members. Yep. Come up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. The application we have today is for the erection of 15 dwellings with associated garages and parking, the creation of a vehicular access, and the provision of open space, which would all follow the demolition of an existing dwelling on the site. The site is within Hadleigh, which is identified as a town and urban area within the adopted core strategy policy CS2, which states that most new development will be directed to these areas.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Rose. I don't know if it's going through the slides. It's still showing the first slide. That's what I'm getting anyway. Is that?
Yes, that's all we're getting.
Sorry, my internet's not great, so it is a bit delayed. If you could let me know when it's moved on to the second slide.
No, it's not done anything at the moment.
It's also showing with the side panel of each of the slides, so we should just see the current slide rather than the
yeah. Yes, it's gone to slide 3.
Yep.
Bear with me just a second and I'll bring it up in presentation mode.
Yes, we're on back to slide 1. Slide 2 is Hadleigh.
Okay, brilliant. And to slide 3, is that showing okay?
It's now showing. Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Melanie. That solved the problem.
I have identified the key planning issues as accordance with policy, design and layout, residential amenity, parking and highway safety, and ecology. In terms of policy, the site's located here. is within the built-up area boundary of Hadleigh, shown in orange around the edge here, and has access to the variety of services within the town. The principle is therefore considered acceptable against the policies within the core strategy and local plan.
Excuse me, Rose. It's Councillor Adrian Osborne. Is there any chance of getting that larger than you showing it on the slide there, please?
I think we go into the plan as we progress through the slides, Councillor Osborne.
Yes, and
it is difficult to see that one. I do agree with you, but I think it is shown in more detail as we go through.
Yes, it will be. The emerging joint local plan extends the built-up area boundary of Hadleigh, just shown in the purple line here, with areas earmarked for development here, here and here. Our site is here, outlined in yellow, so well within the built-up area boundary there. In terms of constraints, our site is here marked out in yellow. The purple area here is the conservation area with listed buildings within. This green area up here is a special landscape area, with the blue being flood zones. I'm not sure if you can see very well, but there are green dotted areas which are tree protection orders. For a bit of context, this is our site here marked out in yellow, with green area to the east and residential development surrounding. For some wider context, this is our site just here, with Hadleigh High Street running down here, the industrial area at the top here, with Sudbury to the west and Ipswich to the east. This is the proposal, and we've got dwellings along the northern boundary leading round to the east, open space on the south with the access running through the middle. This is the existing site with the existing dwelling here and outbuildings there. And this is essentially what the layout would look like on the site. There would be 3-bedroom bungalows along the northern boundary leading round to the east, as shown in purple there for you. 2-storey dwellings here and here. These would be 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom here, and these would be 3-bedroom here. Just run through the elevations with you. We've got 2 bungalows in these locations of the same design. 3-bedroom with the double gable at the front, and brick with hardy plank with plain tiles. 3 more bungalows of the same design in these locations. Again, 3 bedrooms with a double gable at the front and an integral garage. Same materials as the previous. Again, 2 bungalows of the same design, 3-bedroom and of matching materials and an integral garage. 3 more bungalows of the same design here in these locations. A double gable to the rear with glazing and matching materials as the previous. This location, we've got 3 2-storey terrace properties, red brick, 2 of which would be 3-bedroom and 1 2-bedroom on the end. This here are 2 semi-detached 2-storey 2-bedroom properties, one of which would have a frontage facing out towards the road and the other on the side. can run through the parking with you. 4 properties would have detached garages, as shown in blue there, and here are the elevations of those. 5 properties would have integral garages, as shown in orange for you there. Be 35 allocated spaces, as shown in yellow, and 4 visitor spaces, which offers approximately 3.2 spaces per dwelling. The access would be located on the western side, as it is currently, with a 4.8 metre wide access way and 2.4 times 33 metre visibility splay. And I've shown the edges of the visibility splay here for you. There would also be a 1.5 metre wide footway to run along the green to allow pedestrians to cross the road and link with the existing footway on the opposite side of the road. Just show here for you. So the footway would come along here at the front, allow pedestrians to cross and use this footway here. Again, I'll show you the footway, new footway here, cross the road, use this existing footway on this side so that they can access the services within the town. So again for you, so the footway would be along this boundary here, cross over and use this existing footway on this side here. In terms of residential amenity, the bungalows along the northern boundary leading round to the east are not considered to cause any adverse impact to residential amenity due to the neighbouring properties being set back from the boundary, as you can see, and the new dwellings being single storey. Concern has been raised regarding the relationship between these properties here and these properties. This one at the front here, there was a concern about light blocking and a loss of privacy, and then loss of privacy and overlooking between these properties here. Here you can see the existing bungalow, neighbouring bungalow at the front here. In this location would be a new dwelling. This is the existing bungalow on the site. The new dwelling would be a bungalow appearing like this. Originally, the plans did show a 2-storey dwelling in this location, but we have negotiated for it to be changed to a bungalow. You can see that the windows along the side of this existing property here are already partially obstructed by the boundary treatments, and it appears that the majority of natural light for this neighbouring property does come through from the front and rear of the properties. These are the neighbouring properties to the south. You can clearly see that these neighbouring properties are at an elevated position from the existing site. There is an approximate fall of 2.8 metres across the site from north to south, with the 2-storey dwellings being approximately in this location. So there's not considered to be any adverse potential for overlooking and loss of privacy here. The concern was raised in regard to the impact to ecology on the site. The majority of the mature trees and plant life would be enhanced and maintained, and ecology assessments have been received for this site. Place Services Ecology were consulted and raised no objection, subject to securing a proportionate financial contribution towards visitor management measures at the store and Orwell estuaries, as well as ecological mitigation and enhancement measures which have been conditioned. A concern was also raised regarding emergency vehicle access. It should be noted that this is a building control consideration. However, for the avoidance of doubt, the requirements are a hammerhead turning point with the dwellings set back, which this layout provides. The emergency vehicle would come in here, turn at the top and come back down. Just for a bit of history context, in 2018, outline planning permission was granted for 15 dwellings on this site, and this is the scheme that was approved at the time. And this is what we have now. So I'll just take you back to what was previously approved and what we have now. So this is a far more sympathetic and more organised scheme to what we had before. The Section 106 would include a contribution towards affordable housing as advised by the district valuer. Following the submission of a viability assessment, due to abnormal costs on the site, the scheme would not be viable while providing the affordable homes. Therefore, a contribution sum is agreed and it would go towards affordable housing in the district. And I'll just take you through some site photos. Here is the existing access with the road leading down towards the south. Here is the existing access again with the road leading towards the north. This is the existing bungalow and access here. These are the properties neighbouring to the south. This is where the majority of the open space would be, with the 2-storey dwellings appearing at the bottom here. This is the existing dwelling and existing outbuildings along the northern boundary. So this is where the bungalows would follow in. The recommendation is for approval subject to the completion of a Section 106 agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. That's very good. Now, members, see if there's any points that you want clarified by the case officer. Could I just start by asking if you could go to slide 30, which you pointed out about, well, once you get to it, I'll show you. 30. That's, oh, I must have got the wrong one. Can you go down one more? No. Oh, go up. Sorry, go up. Try. Anyway, you pointed out on, it might have been that one, that there was some houses on the around the boundary, and the hedging was rather low, and I was wondering whether there was any landscaping to be put in at that point. I've also noted number 32 to show, if you could show me there which properties were affected. I would assume it must be to the top of the picture in front of us. Was that the area you referred to? No, come right up with your mouse. Right up a bit further. Yeah, I think it was somewhere around. No, you've gone too far. Somewhere around, a little bit lower, somewhere around there. There was, you show a picture of some hedging, and there was the properties in the background that you could see. And will there be any more landscaping added into it on the boundary treatments? There.
Are you on mute, Rose?
Have we lost her?
Yeah, she's on mute.
Sorry there. Just open this up again. Yes, so these would be new planting across here at the top. These are all existing. New planting down here, here.
So is there any infill of landscaping on the boundaries?
Only at the northeast here at the top and at the south here.
We'll just go through the slides upwards. I think we'll come to it then.
Was this the picture you're referring to?
No, go one more. There, that's it. Over the other picture, you can see these houses quite clearly in the photo on your left-hand side. Is there going to be any infill of landscaping?
Yes, so along this southern boundary here, there will be some additional planting.
There will be. That's fine
Yes.
then. Yep, that was lands. And what I want you to show me was where on 32, what property is back onto that? That's it. Where is that now?
So the dwellings that you could see are these ones here.
Those ones there.
Yes. Yeah. So they are at an elevated position, and they're
the ones where we'd had complaints from the objectors.
Yes, just in terms of loss of privacy and overlooking, but as you can see, there is some additional planting going in here, and this is a 2-storey semi-detached 2 properties here, so they are quite set back from the boundary, and these are at an elevated position.
Thank you. You've picked up my point then. Thank you. Councillor Parker, you've got a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just, I'll save the main point really for debate, I think, but I just want clarification around the affordable housing. So in the tabled papers, it says that it was an omission. So can I just have clarity? Was it an omission, or is this representation that affordable housing isn't going to be provided? Was that a late representation? Can I just have clarity on that, Rose?
Yeah,
but otherwise, thank you.
Help us.
I'll take that, Chair.
Yep.
So yes, what happened was I was the original case officer. I didn't have the capacity. I handed it down to Rose. She's made a good job of it. But one of the elements was that a viability assessment was done by the applicant. It was then checked by the district valuer, and as reported in the table papers, a commuted sum was agreed. It was done in the autumn. I think it was October from memory, and that didn't feed into the committee report. So that is an officer error. I should have seen to that, basically. So that's why it's appeared yesterday rather than 2 weeks earlier. So that is the position. The scheme would not be viable if the affordable housing were supplied.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Parker?
It's an explanation, Chair. We'll come back to it in debate, but yes, thank you very much.
While I have the microphone, Chair, could I just verbally report the town council's comments, which came in, I think, this morning, because they are relevant to that point. May I report them now?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's from the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee of Hadleigh Town Council. Good morning. Unfortunately, because of short notice, the council did not register to speak in time to put its representation against this application at your video meeting today. The council did not support this application when it was considered by the council for the reasons set out in the report before you today. You have those comments. As you will see, there were a number of serious concerns about density, footpath routes, traffic issues, and access for emergency vehicles. This is the relevant comment. What Hadleigh Council did like was the development provided for bungalows and 35% affordable housing. Both are much needed in Hadleigh. Obviously, the bungalows are still there, but we are particularly against the removal of affordable housing requirement. May I ask these comments are considered at your meeting today? And that's from the Town Council.
Thank you. So, Councillor Parker, that's most likely helped with the answer to you, and you'll pick it up in debate.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Osborne, your question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just a clarification, really. On the slides that Rose has shown, those houses look like they have black window frames. I'm talking about design here. It might be inappropriate at the moment, but I would think that makes that out of impacts against the other houses, which are all white framed. I just want to make sure that they're not going with that colour. Thank you.
Rose?
The colour of the frames are grey UPVC.
So they're not black, Councillor Osborne.
Well, yeah, the thing is that my point is that when you have these darkened window frames, it makes the overall impression on it very dark and therefore it, doesn't look light, if you like. I mean, there they are, you see.
Yeah, I think I can see what you mean, but we're told they're white UPVC.
No, it's grey, you said.
Grey, yeah, sorry, yeah. Is that correct, Rose?
Yes, grey UPVC.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them white, because it does make a development like that overbearing in terms of it looks shocking, quite candid with you. I know it's my personal look, but if you look at a whole development of 15 houses.
Yeah, the point's been clarified. You can bring that up in debate, okay? Councillor Hinton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick points. Firstly, I missed out on the alteration which showed that the affordable housing wouldn't actually be affordable housing, but there will be a commuted sum instead. If that's the case, why are they proceeding with two-storey dwellings in a mix of bungalows? And the second point would be on page 24 of the original report. It talks about a small watercourse flows along the entire south boundary and a smaller stream flows along the north boundary. With those two streams, where does the water go to? Because we know, anybody who knows that area knows that the green is underwater most of the time when it rains, and at the moment it is. And also connected to that, why does the proposed footpath access lead towards the main road rather than where most of the foot traffic is probably likely to go, which is in the opposite direction towards the school?
I think there's 3 questions there, Rose, for clarification.
Okay, so just in terms of the watercourse, if I just get the plan up. So the watercourse runs round the back here, around and down the south boundary here. We have had consultation from the LLFA, and no objection has been received, subject to drainage conditions which have been imposed. Sorry, what was the other question? Sorry.
The second question. As we're keeping score, the second question was why we've got two-storey houses if we're not talking about them being affordable, when we're talking about bungalows for the other parts of the development.
Okay, I suppose that is just a design preference there from the developers. The two-storey dwellings are the only ones that are providing 2 bedrooms here, so. And you can see them here and here. The two-storey properties are a bit more sympathetic in this location, as it is at a lower point on lower ground here. So I imagine that's the reasoning for providing these as the two-storey properties. You can.
Development preference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the third point, I've forgotten now.
Why is the emphasis on footpath heading towards Lady Lane rather than where most of the traffic along the green goes, which of course is back to the high school, which is in the opposite direction?
Okay, bear with me just a second while I grab that plan there. Leading down towards the south here, there are no existing footpaths that lead into the town. The existing footpath runs towards the north there on the opposite side of the road. So by providing a small footpath on the side of the green here, the pedestrians would be able to cross and use this. However, on the other side, there are no footpaths existing, so it wouldn't be possible for pedestrians to access down here safely.
Okay, thank you. There's no other hands up. I think, Mark, that's the hand you've left up. No other members want points of clarification? No, so we'll move on then. We'll now go to the public speakers, which I don't think we have any for this application. Is that still correct, Robert?
That is still correct, Chair.
Thank you. So now I will open the item up for debate. So members, Councillor McCraw, would you like to start?
I apologise, Chair. I'm not certain whether I was expecting maybe to be able to ask this question at an earlier point, but I think officers are the only people present who can answer it. On the table papers, it was indicated that the viability costs were approximately 5 times larger than the commuted sum, this being the reason that the provision of affordable housing was not possible. That figure seems, I don't know if I'm allowed to quote what those figures are, but the amount of money coming forward in a commuted sum seems to me rather small, and the amount of money in terms of the viability costs seems to me rather large. And I wondered if officers could comment on that. And I know it's been through a valuation process, but there was a considerable disparity there.
Officers, I think it's right that you answer this before we actually go into great debate. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I think that the point, I mean, the general point being raised is one of concern about why there's not much sort of flesh on the bones on the site. And I think that obviously, the district valuer as a neutral expert concurred more or less with what they were saying, and there was a bit of going backwards and forwards, but the sum that you see on the tabled papers of 101,000 is what is deemed to be a reasonable amount that's left over when taking into account viability of the scheme to go towards affordable housing. And the figures quoted on the tabled papers are the extraordinary costs on the site. I mean, typically drainage, for example, was more than had been thought, etc. And pilings needed because of the nature of the soil, etc. Things beyond my ken, basically. But the conclusion was that was all that was left. I mean, I don't know if Councillor McCraw needs some more information on that point, or whether that's accepted as a general explanation, Councillor.
It appeared that the high existing use value was also a factor. And some things were described as abnormal costs. And I can see the piling and the drainage has been mentioned in another councillor's comments. But it just seemed £500,000 seemed a rather large amount for such a small site, and where the housing provision, the affordable housing provision, is clearly a factor involved in meeting our policies. I think that's a point worth raising.
Fair point. Yep. Can you comment on that, Mark?
Yes. So yes, I mean, I think I'll go back to the drainage. You've had discussions already this morning about the various drainage ditches and streams and water courses. So on the site, that's an unusual circumstance for a central urban site, and that kicks the value up. The high existing use value is because it's a desirable location. It's in Hadleigh. It's a bungalow with a large garden. Therefore, as a site, if it just sold off for existing use, it's quite an expensive site. So that then has to feed into the analysis as well. So that's why things then start getting expensive, and that's why there's then not a lot of money left at the end of the day once you've taken into account SIL and things like that as well.
That does seem rather like having your cake and eating it, if I might comment.
Okay, right. We're now going to debate, and I've got Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I mean, I very much take Councillor McCraw's points as you know, part of the debate, and that you know, he's raised absolutely the points that I was going to raise on this. I mean, I just think, you know, for one, the applicant isn't here to represent themselves, so we can't ask the applicant. But I mean, there's a fairly obvious question here: is surely the applicant will have known all of this? They must have known all of this before they put their application in. So it's no wonder that communities, you know, they're looking to us to give a decision here. But I mean, that decision has been thoroughly undermined, in my opinion, by the fact that an applicant has come forward in his outline permission. He's you know, made offers of affordable housing, and they're now not coming forward. I mean, the development per se, I don't have a problem with. I think it sort of fits within the area, etc. And I agree with the officer's recommendation. But But I'm always just astonished. The application before us is for 15 dwellings, 5 of which will be affordable. Now that's been countered by the very late tabled papers, and I don't really know that we've got any legitimate option other than to support the officer's recommendation here. But I think it's a very poor show, frankly, by the applicant. So I just wanted to make that point in debate. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, I'm a little disappointed that the applicant hasn't turned up to the meeting, because there's often questions members think of, and they perhaps could have answered that and might have helped all of us out, and yourself, Councillor Parker. Right, I've got Councillor Osborne next, followed by Councillor Jameson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm in total agreement with that of Councillor Parker and of Councillor McCraw. We should be having affordable housing as per our policy. He should have known that before he attained the site. Plus the fact that I'm afraid community sums to me has never worked on certain applications. I know of 2 that they were going to put community sums because of the viability problems. We never saw a penny of that. So and the legal thing, we lost that on not coming forward with the legal problems which is associated with that type of commuted sum. So yes, I'm not happy with that at all, and I think that again it's a question of he's got the site, he knew what he was doing. I would just make comment, although I approve of bungalows. Is that the reason, because they can only put the bungalows down there, or they've gone for bungalows, that is the reason why I understand what our officer has said, but that again, they always say the footprint of a bungalow does not meet the costs in terms of putting a house there, which they could get away with. But I'm sorry, I just don't like the way that the affordable housing has been chivied out here, and a so-called commuted sum of less value, and again we've got to fight to get it, is on there. I'm sorry, I just don't like that at all.
Mark, can you help here? The commuter's sum less than perhaps what we were expecting, and the difficulties in getting it. Can you comment on those particular points and others, yeah. Councillor Osborne?
Yes, the way it works is typically our strategic housing team would try and allocate those monies which were available to a scheme nearby, which may be relevant to this development. Having spoken to the strategic housing officer, there isn't necessarily one very nearby, but she did mention 1 or 2 villages elsewhere in Babergh where it could go. In these situations, the allocation would be on a district-wide basis, so it would go into an existing scheme. And intuitively, it's sort of worth about 1 dwelling, so it could add that to it. But while I'm here, Chair, I think that just reviewing what the members are saying, and what we have done occasionally is something called a viability review clause on the Section 106 to claw back excess profits. If at the end of the development the developer has turned over a tidier sum than they thought they were going to, then we would have a right to ask for more. I mean, it would still be a cash sum. It wouldn't be a unit, but it would be more to go into the district-wide pot. So the recommendation could be thus changed to refer to a viability review clause in the 106.
Councillor Osborne, did you want to come back?
Yes, I would. That is exactly what my comment is, that this clawback stuff that comes in on commuted sums has never worked. We've lost money. Babergh has lost money on commuted sums on this clawback. I can name the applications where there were a lot of properties there, and because the developer said the viability wasn't there, we would have a clawback. It never worked. It never, legally, we did nothing about it, and we lost that money. So we're one property. I can't understand why we're not imposing and making sure that our policy of 35% affordable or the equivalent on that particular site is not adhered to. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just add the point about bungalows, whether residents and locals don't want development on a site or not, it does seem that it is more acceptable when bungalows are offered as an alternative, and people do seem to like them and accept them better. So I don't think I'd like the message to go out, Councillor Osborne, that because they've got to use a bit more land to space out a bungalow, they should cram in houses so as to make more money. I don't think that would be the message I'd want to see us send out.
No, I absolutely agree with you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
But the problem is that they say that the viability goes because they're having to use bungalows. I mean, you've just got to look at previous developers that have come forward and made that comment. We don't do bungalows, I think, was one comment used.
One company, yes, it was.
So there you go.
Thank you. Councillor Jameson, followed by Councillor McLean.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree so far with everything that's been said by the other councillors regarding the affordable housing. If we reject this today, this application, can the applicant fall back on the previously agreed outline planning permission? And if so, I must admit I've not checked, but was there any affordable housing in that scheme?
Officers?
I'll leave that to the case officer. Rose, do you have that information, please?
Yes, so they would be able to fall back on the outline that was granted in 2018 with a 3-year time limit to come in with the reserved matters. The previous scheme does have an offering of 5 affordables, similar to what this scheme had originally proposed.
Thank you. Councillor McLennan.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just really ask the question, the loss of 5 affordable houses in Hadleigh, how does that impact the level of affordable housing that is at present or is proposed for Hadleigh?
Can you help, Rose?
Chair, sorry, is the councillor asking how many units are being provided at the moment? Is that the question? We don't have that information, but I can ask.
Okay. Well, Mark, it's because there's a lot of I live near Hadleigh. There's a lot of development in Hadleigh. What I'm asking is the seriousness of losing 5 affordable housing in this application. How is that going to impact what Hadleigh has planned for the whole of the town?
Right, so I think the question may be, had strategic housing relied on these 5 units earlier in their calculations? Is that the sort of thing you're asking?
Well, that's sort of, yes.
Yeah, okay. What I'll do is I'll message the strategic housing officer and see what she says about. I know she's not happy about not getting the 5. I can tell you that. But if you want some hard figures, I can try and get those as well.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Parker. Oh, sorry, Councillor Parker. I'd say Councillor Jameson. Did I cut you off, or have you just left your hand?
Who are you talking to, Chair?
Sorry, I left the hand up.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Parker. It's you.
While you're there, Chair.
Yep.
Regarding the 5 affordable houses that were in the previous application, would the same scenario sit with those? Would they still not build those because of the viability? If they fell back on the previous,
if they fell back to the 2018 application, can Mark or Rose, can you help out? If they would they have to lose the 5 affordable houses if they fell back to the 2018 permission?
Well, the 2018 one was outline only, so some matters were reserved, and I don't know if Rose has got that information about which matters were reserved, but I think the point is at outline you perhaps don't look at things sometimes as carefully as you would at reserved matters. So they've come to what is actually a full application. It's not the reserved matters, it's a separate full application, and they've looked at it more carefully and they've realised the money's not there. So I suppose, to answer your question, when they came in for the reserved matters relating to this outline, they would probably come up against the same obstacle.
Right, thank you.
Thanks.
If I may, Chairman, I'll just come in. I'm speaking from memory and general knowledge, but if it was the case that the 2018 application had a Section 106 agreement that obliged the landowner to give 5 affordable dwellings, then they would have to, if they implement it, they'll have to either comply with that or seek to persuade the council to release them from the Section 106 obligation.
But we don't know whether there was a 106 obligation, do we?
I don't know precisely what 106 says, but I thought that was worth.
Perhaps Mark, Rose, you can find that out while we're continuing. Councillor Parker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, actually, Ed actually has just answered the very thing, because I think if we're not careful, we're in danger of going around in circles, because I think Councillor Jemison is absolutely right insofar as if we rely on the outline planning permission, well, they've still got to come forward with a scheme in reserve matters, and they've clearly stated here that affordable housing isn't going to be part of that scheme. So I suppose we do need to know about that Section 106, because I think that's going to be material to members' decision this morning, I think, by the sounds of things, because I think we're, as much as I'm disappointed that we're not going to see affordable housing on this site, I'm not sure that in itself is going to be grounds enough for us to refuse this application, and that for me is what's so frustrating for me, because members of the public are just going to see this whole lack of affordable housing that's being promised. The whole lack of it is just seen as undermining the process. I mean, say what on that basis, the applicant could just come forward with whatever they want, only to change that at reserve matters. And therein lies the frustration. So I do think we need to know if that S106 is in place. I think that's going to be material, but I would be, as I said before, I'll be minded to support the officer's recommendation reluctantly on this. It's not a proposal.
No. Mark and Rose, can you answer that, or do you need 5 minutes to go away and find the answer? Because we could take a 8-minute comfort break and come back at 10:30 if you need to find this out.
Well, what is the question?
The question is about the 106.
It's in place.
Yep.
It's in place, obviously, because the permission was granted, so the 106 is in place. But did you want which details were you after exactly, members?
The detail I think that Councillor Parker was asked and for was regarding the amount of affordable housing, whether that was a condition or whether that was reserves. It's Councillor Parker. Yep.
Can I just, if I can just clarify the situation. So from what Interpray has told us, if there's a Section 106, then the developer is obliged, is he not, to provide those affordable housing. His only option, therefore, is to come back to council and renegotiate that 106. Is that right? Can we ask the legal officer?
I'm Chairman. Through you, Chairman, I was guessing and assuming that the 2018 permission had a Section 106 agreement that committed the owner to provide the 5 affordable dwellings. If that's the case, that would be our standard practice. So, as if I may say so, Councillor Parker, you put it, you said we'd be going around in circles, because the applicant has come to us for a different scheme, but we now have a request that the affordable housing be solely provided as a means of a commuted sum. But yes, I think I dare say we can probably the officers can fairly quickly, if we find probably be on our public website for the 2018 application, the Section 106, if there is one, will be there quite easily to find. Mark, I believe that will be the case, won't it?
Right, Mark. I think then
if members would like to know, particularly, I'm sure we can find it in a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, if we take a 10-minute comfort break, that will give you. We'll come back then at 10:35, and hopefully you'll have the answer with that. Okay. So just leave yourself muted and what have you. Welcome back, members. I'll ask the officer to do a roll call of members to see that we're all present. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you, Chair. So, Councillor Suez.
Present.
Councillor Barrett.
Present.
Councillor Beer.
Present.
Councillor Busby.
Present.
Councillor Hinton.
Present.
Councillor Jameson.
Present.
Councillor McCraw.
Present.
Councillor McLaren.
Present.
Councillor Osborne.
Present.
Councillor Owen.
Present.
And Councillor Parker.
Present.
Thank you, Chair. We are all here.
Thank you. Officers, Mark, have you managed to get the answer to Councillor Parker's comments?
Yes, we have, Chair. Rose, are you okay to just read out the relevant parts of the 106?
Yes, I'll do that now. So the section 106 for the previous application in 2018 states that 5 dwellings are to be provided on the site, all of which shall be rental dwellings, and all 5 of the affordable housing units in positions to be agreed in writing by the District Council at reserved matters. The affordable housing units to consist of 2 one-bedroom, 2-person dwellings at 50 square metres and 3 2-bedroom, 4-person dwellings at 79 square metres.
Thank you. Mark, did you wish to comment? No?
Yes, Chair, if I may.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, Rose has explained what the wording was. So that was the outline, which was granted in 2018. It was then for them to submit a reserved matters scheme, which could be looked at on its merits, but would still be tied to that 106. Their option would have been to have still gone with the 106, or as we presume, they would have had to vary the 106 if they were saying that it didn't stack up. And obviously, I would suggest that the choice to go for a fresh full application indicates that the decision was made that the affordable made it not payable. So that's why they've done it. So one can presume the likelihood of a scheme coming forward with those 5 would be very low. So that's why they've made that commercial decision.
And our legal officer, what is our legal position on what you've just heard?
Well, yes, indeed. I don't need to add very much. I mean, if the way the section 106, I've looked at it too in the break, and it's a standard, as you would expect, affordable housing section 106 agreement relating to a development of this size. And the legal effect of it is, if they obtained reserved matters and lawfully commenced that 2018 permission, then immediately the obligation to deliver 5 affordable houses in the locations set in reserved matters would kick in and bind the land. So the only way to get out of that would be to persuade the council to sign a deed of variation or extinguishment, releasing the section 106 obligation. And as Mark says, if it really is the case that it's not viable to deliver 5 affordable houses out of 15, then they presumably the development will not, as a matter of practicality, come forward under that permission.
Or the alternative is that if we were minded to go along with this application, that would.
And of course, they would prefer. If this application today is granted, of course, they would prefer to. I'm sure to implement that. Right.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Back to you.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Parker. Mark wishes to come back. Yep.
Sorry, because it relates to a thing you asked before the break. I've had some correspondence with colleagues about the state of things in affordable housing delivery in Hadleigh, and my esteemed colleague Mr. Pearce has Mr. Vincent Pearce has given me quite a lot of information about what's going on, and there is quite a lot coming forward of some of the schemes in Hadleigh. He's actually here to talk to you about that if you want, but the picture is there's quite a lot of affordable coming forward in Hadleigh.
I'm going to ask Councillor McLaren if she wished to ask Vincent Price to comment and answer her query that she had a bit earlier. Councillor McLaren, would you like to hear Councillor Officer Vincent Price's comments on that? I think it might be helpful.
I don't think I need to hear Mr. Pearce's comment, but in fact that confirms what I understood about Hadleigh, that there was a lot of affordable housing coming on stream. So that has answered my question. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, right. Thank you very much then. I don't think we need Officer Vincent Price then. Thank you very much, unless anybody else really wanted to hear from him. Councillor Parker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, again, really, I think all that we've highlighted here is that an application has come forward to us, and indeed a legal agreement has been obtained, that there will be an undertaking to supply affordable housing, and yet when it's come to reserve matters, we're not getting that. And I just wonder what message that sends out, Chair. But look, we are where we are, and I understand completely. I understand that the developers conundrum that they're in. I mean, you know, if there's expenses, there's expenses, but it just seems an odd way to go about things to my mind. But I'll tell you what, Chair, you know, under the circumstances, I think the alternative that we're faced here with is no development coming forward, and actually the scheme to me looks quite good. So subject to, I mean, Mark Russell mentioned that we could condition that you know, we get an agreement so that there is you know, we at least get a share of the excess profits over and above the community. Yeah, over and above for Hadleigh, yeah, that's been commuted. And I see Officer Marcus Russell has got his finger in the air. So I'm ready to make a proposal, but I'll listen to what Mark Russell has to say. So,
right,
yeah,
yes, I'll
thanks.
come back to you after Mark. Mark.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, I was keen to get in there before the proposal, just so it's clear. So yeah, so just to confirm, it would be a clause within the 106. It would be a viability review clause that allows commuted monies if the profits were excessive. Basically, I'll leave the details to the legal experts, but that's the sense of it. And the other thing to say, Chair, is having discussed the scheme with Rose during the break, I think we've overlooked just doing a PD removal condition as well. So if I could add that into the offering as well. This is PD removal for basically any additions to roofs. That's the thing that we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so the take away permitted development rights. Yes, I think that's very sensible. Councillor Parker.
Yeah, Chair. Well, I mean, I've just noticed there's some other hands that have gone up.
Yeah,
so
I need to come back to you.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'll listen to a bit more of the debate then, Chairman, in that case. But I've taken Mark Russell's comments on board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jameson.
Thank you, Chair. If, as Mark says, the applicant has realised they can't put in can't afford the 5 affordable homes, and that's why they've submitted a whole new application, but still quoted 5 affordable homes in that new application, knowing they were never going to fulfil that obligation, and then not to turn up today to actually answer questions. I think that's a bit cynical, or a bit sad, really. That's what I was going to say.
I think I have to agree with you that it's unfortunate the applicant isn't here.
Chair,
and
I'm very sorry to interrupt. We've just lost Councillor McCraw, so we're just going to have to pause for a moment. I apologise for interrupting.
No, that's fine. We won't make any comments until we get Councillor McCraw back.
So I just heard from Mandy that he's just rebooting his computer, so it'll just be a couple of moments, Chair. So if we just take a very quick pause.
and they've got a comment on permitted development rights that would be an addition. But I'll ask us to be counted in, and then I'll go to Mark Ross.
One thing, Chair, I have my hand raised, and there's a point I'd like to make before a proposal is made.
Yes, I can't see your hand at the moment, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. But I'll bear you in mind. Thank you.
Yep, just to confirm, Chair, we are now live, so we can continue.
Welcome back, members. Officers, can you comment on the 106 information that you found out? Because one of our councillors' computers went down, and he's now back with us, and you just need to refresh it for us. Thank you.
Yes. Chair, could I just confirm whether Councillor McCraw heard the bit about the 106 that's existing with the 5 dwellings? Did he hear that?
I did. You were in the moment about to take legal advice on that point, but you had actually expressed your point already.
So it's the permitted development.
Okay, and yeah, and Councillor, sorry, and Mr. Dupre confirmed that. So what you heard from me and from Rose about the 5 units, that stands as a piece of information. If that's not clear, please let me know. I then asked if I could speak before a proposal was made, and that was to confirm that the proposal should read as per the recommendation with the following additions, that the 106 should have a viability review clause in it so that we can claw back extra contributions to affordable housing if there's excess profits. I also asked whether Chair would consider adding a condition to remove permitted development rights relating to additions to roofs, and that would include the new thing about the 2 stories up. Also dormers and windows in roofs, basically to secure privacy. So we'll word that condition, but that's the extra condition.
Fine, I'm clear on that. Just for the point of view of determination and my ability to be able to determine properly, I have that point and the addition of the removal of permitted development rights.
Yes.
A point I was going to raise later on anyway, so thank you very much for that, Mark. I now believe, Chair, that I'm fully aware of all the arguments that have been presented so far and may continue within the meeting.
Thank you. Right, I'll go to the next speaker then. And I've got hands up from Councillor Barrett, followed by Councillor Osborne, and then yourself. Thank you. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wanted a bit of clarity on the sort of commuted sum, because there's been a little bit of a discussion about how it could get sort of lost and not bring about the sort of intended what the intention is. Can Mr. Russell sort of explain where that sum goes? Does that go directly to buying a property within the district that can be used for relieving the housing situation?
Yeah, our strategic housing officers will identify a scheme that it will go towards.
Right. Thank you very much.
And that could be anywhere in the district, but you try and keep it as near to Hadleigh as possible. Is that correct?
If there were one right next door, it would go there. They try and keep it as close as possible, but the reality is it could be anywhere in the district.
Yeah.
But it cannot get lost or
not delivered.
No, I mean, no, they're not going to. Oh, okay, I trust them implicitly not to lose it.
Well, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Osborne.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just getting back to the affordable properties coming forward in Hadleigh. But the question I'd like to ask is, does this meet the need of Hadleigh, which hasn't been talked about? And incidentally, to that prior question of clawback, it's unfortunate, but we have lost money on that. There's no doubt about that, because the legal section did not make that point to claw that back at the time, and that's why we lost it, and it could happen again.
Yes, so you're not referring to this application, right? Officer Mark, can you help us on that? I seem to think that the clawback would be a condition that we'd put in if we were minded to go down the road of approving. And I think we were led to believe that the affordable houses in Hadleigh, there was quite a few.
Yeah.
Available.
So the clawback issue would be covered in the 106, in a clause in the 106. I don't know the circumstance the council is referring to, whether it was talked about and didn't appear in the 106, or whether it was in the 106 and it was never acted on. I don't know. I mean, it's fair to say that down the years, local authorities get stuff wrong sometimes. But we're explicitly asking for this to be a clause in the 106, and it will be in the 106, and the monies will go to a scheme in Babergh. So that's what that's meant to be all about. Your other question was about the delivery. Yeah, I mean, Vince is still there, but he's let me know about for example, the Persimmon scheme, which is a joint local plan allocation for 500, and that's providing 35%. So at the moment, phase 1 is being built. And that's 35% of 171. So what's that? That's sort of 60 odd, you know. The next phase 2 for 273 units, that's 35% as well. So again, you've got about 90 odd there as well. So that they are coming on stream.
Yeah, so let's not confuse ourselves. We will have a 106 in for the clawback, and which would affect this particular development.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just the question really wasn't answered. The amount of affordable housing coming forward in Hadleigh, I understand is substantial, or so you've been telling us. But does it meet the need? Does that amount of housing meet the need of what is required at the moment?
I don't have that answer, to be honest with you.
Well, you know, if you want the answer to that, then I'm going to have to ask the officer. Vincent Pierce to answer it for us. Are you there, Officer Pierce?
Okay. I am, Chair.
Right. Can you keep it brief, but can you answer that particular point? Have we, well, I suppose we always want more, but what is the situation in Hadleigh with affordable houses that are coming on stream, please?
Hadleigh, as top of the settlement hierarchy, is being expected to deliver more affordable housing than it requires for itself. It is being asked to provide affordable housing to satisfy a district-wide need.
Thank you. Councillor Osborne, you're happy with that? I think it was quite clear.
Yes, it is. You know, we talk about need against the affordability coming forward on stream, but you know, we always ask the question: does that warrant a need? And if it does, and if it's turned down, then we've gone against our own policies. And you know, I'm sorry, but I don't like the idea of this clawback. It's something that I know has happened. I don't want to talk about the development that was involved with that, but they walked away from that scot-free.
Well, I think the officers have got the message, and we'll make sure that if we were minded to approve, that we'll have a clawback through a 106 agreement. I'll move on to Councillor McGraw.
Thank you, Chair. Before any proposal is made, I just thought I'd get out policy CS19, which I have in front of me.
Yep.
The first sentence of CS19 requires the provision of 35% affordable housing. The note 2, which is largely the second sentence, is not as in case here because that deals with us 1 or 2 dwellings, and that does describe the position for commuted sums. Note 3 is on tenure mix and types, and the original proposal without the late table paper proposing a commuted sum would be appealed to that, but the commuted sum definitely makes that different. The final note, which I assume is the final paragraph sentence, says that the onus is on developers to provide documentary evidence to support cases where development viability is a proven issue. And where such cases are accepted, the local planning authority will determine etc., and or appropriate levels of commuted sums on a site-by-site basis. And I think the question here must be, do we accept this evidence as a local planning authority for determination? And do we believe this to be an appropriate level of a commuted sum on a site-by-site basis? Note 4 continues at the bottom, sub-putting, where this is justifiable and supported by up-to-date viability evidence. And I think those 2 points are at the key of this. Its requirement, is it supported? Do we regard the evidence as strong enough? And is it up to date?
Well, we have viability officers and that. So, Mark, can you help us? Or help?
It is up to date, actually, yes. And it was checked over by the district valuer just a few weeks ago. So it has ticked those boxes. I mean, the complication is that it's always a confidential assessment. So, you know, it can't be made a public document, but it's been checked by the district valuer and they've concluded the reasonable amount of commuted sum between them.
And we're proposing a review of this matter of viability.
Exactly, towards the end, a clawback clause in the 106 should more money be got from the site than is claiming to be the case.
Does any possibility of a review prior to determination exist?
Well, I mean, not really, because they've only just done it recently and we're here. So the only way we could do that would be to not determine it and then come back in 6 months or a year, that would be an unjust thing to do to the applicant. And I presume they just appeal for non-determination.
It's regrettable, perhaps, Mark, that the applicant isn't present, because I would have liked to have asked these questions directly.
Absolutely.
I think that would have speeded the process for our purposes. Yeah, not much else one can say about that, is there?
I think whatever the result of all this, I think the message should go out to the applicant that their attendance was noted that they weren't here. Councillor Busby, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of points. The valuer is an independent valuer, so it's not done by the developer. We've checked it, so we must take that as the right figure. It's like Highway saying something, we have to take their views on it. To the commuted sums, it does work. We've collected over £2 million in commuted sums. We allocated some for 8 houses in Lavenham just yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. So it does work. We do use the money and we do build houses with it. I just wondered, this is a 1.3 hectare site, which, using an average of 25, which is what we have around in the district, you'd probably be looking at nearer 30 odd houses, 32 houses. So this is only kind of half its density. There must be a reason for that, I would have thought, whether it's the difficulty of the site. If they're talking about putting pilings in and they've moved from 2-storey to bungalows, then it could be a very difficult site to bring forward. But one of the options would be that we suggest that they could have put more houses in and therefore make the site more viable.
Well, as I have to remind you, we have to deal with what's in front of us, but your point is noted. Councillor Parker.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So I think I'm going to lodge a proposal, Chair, if I can, because despite the efficacy or otherwise of the Section 106 agreement, we are where we are at. And I mean, I will just comment or reply to one of the comments that Officer Mark Russell just said there, that it would be unjust to the developer. Well, nowhere near as unjust as saying you're going to deliver 5 affordables and then not do it. That's certainly unjust to the district as a whole. And I think that message needs to go out loud and clear. But notwithstanding any of that, on terms of pure planning merit, I think we would be up against it if we were to do, if we were to pursue a refusal on this. So actually, Chair, I am going to move a proposal that we support the officer's recommendation to approve this development, but I would like to include the review clause and the removal of the PD rights as part of, or in addition to, the conditions that are noted in the officer's recommendation, Chair.
Thank you very much. The review then is the clawback. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Busby?
Yeah, you can put me down as a seconder.
Thank you. Well, your hand was up. Right, I've got Councillor Hinton. Before I go to Councillor Hinton, followed by Councillor Barrett, could I just ask? I did mention to the case officer at Briefing that the electric vehicle charging points. There didn't seem as though there was any here, and I think you were going to come back to us on this, Rose. I think that we perhaps should insist on some electric vehicle charging points. Okay, can you comment at all?
I have briefly discussed this with the applicant, and they're happy to provide that.
Oh, good. So, Councillor Parker, would you add in electric vehicle charging points?
Be delighted to, Chair, yes.
Thank you. And your seconder, Councillor Busby?
Yes, Chair. I'd also like to ask something about energy efficiency as well, before we take the vote.
Yeah. Well, I'll take you now on that point as you're the seconder, if you want to comment
I'm just
on
interested to know what whether they're achieving zero energy efficiency in terms of solar panels or ground.
Right. Rose, can you help on that one? Does Councillor Busby need to ask for a clause in it, or is that picked up already? That's what he's saying.
There are no solar panels or any kind of renewable energy within the proposal, so it may be worth adding a clause in about that.
That if it was practical, I suppose. Councillor Busby?
Yeah, I certainly think we should. I mean, it's going to be one of the key things for every building in the future, so I don't think we should let them off too lightly.
No, but you'll be reasonable, but you'd like a clause added in regarding.
Yeah, if Mark can suggest something in terms of energy efficiency for the housing.
Mark, can you help out?
We can just do a bullet point standard condition and to be agreed, Councillor.
Yeah, he's not being unreasonable, but I think what he's asking for, I should think they could adapt something. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So they're like the 4 conditions now we've got. Right. I've got Councillor Hinton next, followed by Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we seem to have got a bit bogged down over the affordable housing, and whilst I agree that it was an important issue and should have been sorted out, because the only thing that made the whole proposal reasonably acceptable to the locals seemed to be the fact that there was a 30% affordable housing provision within there. One of my concerns is, much as anything else, is that the drainage issue has been glossed over rather in terms of Anglian Water and the County Council in terms saying they will be agreed later. But with a stream down both sides, this site is regularly a boggy mess. Not necessarily where the bungalow is, because that sits on top of a slight rise, but behind it. And the water drains down to the green and often floods the green. Now we're talking about a footpath link to be able to go northwards towards Lady Lane. But the majority of traffic along there, bearing in mind that dead opposite the entrance to this is an old people's home, heads towards the south and the high school, and also the primary school. So there is a lot of foot traffic heading southwards, and yet we're going to increase the amount of traffic along there exponentially by going from one bungalow to 15 properties. And of course, we're putting in a provision for 39 parking spaces. So potentially there's 39 to 40 vehicles movements coming into it as well. So I think that we've got to be a bit careful about how we assess this by not getting too bogged down with just the affordable housing issue. There are certain limitations on this site which are not really being considered.
Okay. Rose? Or Mark? Did you wish to comment?
Yeah, I think the point is, sorry, Rose, you go. Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that we do have a drainage strategy and FRA addendum, which have been approved by the LLFA, with conditions that have been imposed, as well as Anglian Water raised no objection, subject to a condition which has been imposed.
Chairman, if I could just say,
Yes.
what is the condition? Because they get Anglian Water regularly put in no objections, but that's because they'd see another 100 houses being built somewhere, but no capacity issues are brought into it at all, and the water pressure for existing dwellings just drops away. So I don't trust the no comments or no objections from Anglian Water.
What did they highlight anything, Rose, in their no objection?
I'm just having a look at the consultation response just now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the condition that Anglian Water have recommended is that no hard standing areas are to be constructed until the works have been carried out in accordance with the surface water strategy that has been submitted and approved, unless otherwise agreed in writing. They haven't.
It sounds like the normal to me.
Yes, it is what they normally would recommend.
Well, linking that in, Mr. Chairman, with what the County Council are responsible for, and that is SUDS. Where is the SUDS scheme for this site? Where's the water going to be collected for this site?
Mark, Rose, can you help?
Sorry, there is there's a SUDS condition as well. I believe is there not? If you look at the it's the 7th condition there. There is a SUDS condition. So,
which is what? But very well saying that it'd be covered by condition, but we don't know what the condition is. We're just left in a dark on things.
It's to be agreed before
Page 31.
before the scheme's developed. Basically, it's to be agreed up front, so they can't get on and do the development before they've satisfied the SUDS going through the local lead floods authority, who we defer to on these matters.
So they sort that out after whether there's a position granted.
After determination, but before they start their works. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Not quite the way round forward, but anyway, that's their procedure. Councillor Barrett.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to vote to approve when we go to the vote. Bearing in mind all the discussion, but this does offer us a higher proportion of bungalows than we normally see, and yes. we're always asking developers to do this, and it's often probably a viability issue that they face in putting in bungalows. They must be more expensive. So I think there's quite a large benefit that we see with this scheme, and it's actually quite nice that it's not a very cramped site, and that allows possibly, I think, a higher proportion of parking than sometimes we see. It's not all on the street. It's more accommodated in the driveways and so on. So I think it's quite a nice scheme. It's not too large. It's not too near the boundary treatments. It's got some screening. I don't have any problem with it, and so I'll be voting for it.
Thank you. Councillor McCraw.
On Councillor Hinton's question of surface drainage and hard standing areas, is that securable in the long term, in the sense that future residents have been known to pave over semi-permeable surfaces with impermeable surfaces, and that can significantly affect, I know from mature developments in my own ward, where what was once in place has been replaced, and it now becomes a surface water management issue. This probably speaks more to my ignorance than anything else, but I just asked that question.
Mark, you look eager to answer it.
What about ego? But I will answer it. Yes, I hear what you're saying. I mean, that's at the finer end of planning enforcement, basically. Did Rose mention about the fact that they'd asked for no hard surfacing? However she worded it, anyway, there'll be a future proof clause on that saying, and shall remain as such at all times.
Thank you. It's the future proofing I was wanting to address, Mark. Yeah. Thank you. That helps. I will probably reluctantly be voting in favour of the proposal.
Thank you. The last hand I've got up is Councillor Ayres.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say that I would go with Melanie and with Councillor McCraw. The thing that I do like is the fact they're bungalows, and so it may be an adequate and good home for anyone who has a disability or uses a wheelchair. So I'm taking it from that angle. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, is there any new hands up? Councillor, I can see 3 hands up, but you've all spoken, unless you just haven't put them down. Barrett and Hinton. No, I'll take that then. There's no one else has got hands up. We've had a proposal from Councillor Parker, seconded by Councillor Osborne, I think it was. I didn't actually put the seconder down. No, it wasn't. No, Councillor Busby. Councillor Busby. That we accept the officer's recommendation, plus an additional taking away of PD rights, putting in the clawback clause, electric charge and pints, and energy improvements. So you're all clear now what you're voting for, and I'll ask Robert to take us through to the electronic vote.
Thank you, Chair. So if members could please go to the modern.gov app and go to the attendance and voting tab by clicking the plus sign in the top right. Sorry, I haven't started it yet. I clicked the wrong button. I'll be with you in a moment. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
So in there, you should see the text of, oh, I think my colleague Mandy's just started. She got ahead of me. So in there, you'll see the text.
No, I've got, as well. It's asking me to log on.
Oh, okay, Chair. So
right, I've got to do that then.
I was going to say you'll have to log in again, I'm afraid.
Right. Yep, I've done that. Loading. I now need to go to agenda, don't I?
That's right, Chair. And then it's the plus in the top right-hand corner.
Ah, that's the one. Yeah. Plus. Attendance voting. Like that. Right. Right. I've just got up the oh, I've got to scroll down because that's
it'll be at the bottom, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Right. Right, I've got the blue box up. Now I need to hit the voting tag, don't I?
Yes, so if you click the light blue one, then that should take you into the vote.
Right, in progress. I got to tick that one and press close, is it? Or, no, I've got to do submit, but I can't get that up.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Gosh, that little bar on the side needs to be made bigger because you need about 3 hands. Right, confirm. That's come up. I think I've. Oh, wait a minute. Confirm again. Has it happened? It should have done.
Yep, that's all come through now.
Right.
So I can confirm the vote, Chair, was 9 votes for and 1 against. So that's carried.
Thank you very much. So that is approved then, members. So I think we're getting to the end of the agenda. I'm just checking. Just bear with me. Right. Yes, so we've done the voting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday the 13th of January at 9:30. So I think all it leaves me, members, is to wish all of you a very happy Christmas and a good new year, and let's hope for all of us, and the public included, that next year will be a much better year than the year that we're leaving behind, which I think we all want to get out of very quickly. So a very happy Christmas to you all.